Good afternoon, guys. It's Workin, bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, guys, Bitcoin was sitting right up in here, just huddling right under that $4,000 area. I told you guys more than likely, I said I would like to see a retesting of that 3,900. It looked like Bitcoin was going to possibly break down, at least test the support area of 3,900 or this ascending resistance line here that we've had mapped out here for the last few weeks. And that's exactly what happened. Shortly after, guys, price did end up breaking down, hit that $3,900 support, wicked below it, touching the trend line here, once again reaffirming that trend line's relevancy, bounced off that zone, guys. And if you remember last time we spoke, I told you I was going to enter a trade between 3,900 and 3,850, allowing for that wick, and that's again exactly what happened. In fact, if you were listening, you had multiple opportunities to enter as it was just bouncing along here and wicking down to almost that 3,850 quite a few times. And of course, I told you guys I'd be targeting 4,000. I was going to get in and I was going to get out very quickly. Of course, that's exactly what I did, guys. I had my trades filled, positions filled between 3,900 and 3,850, and immediately got out at 4,000. Now we're watching this 4,000. Why 4,000? Obviously, 4,000 was a very good support area, or excuse me, resistance area, has been for quite some time. And we had this descending resistance line here, guys, that I told you it looked like what I told you a few updates ago, maybe in the last one, the one prior, where it looked like the price was getting squeezed here tighter and tighter. It looked like the makings of a possible larger wedge. I told you I wanted to see one more test to the upside, and that's exactly what we've seen here, guys. We saw a bounce down to the bottom and another test here, affirming an overall wedge pattern here. So I'm going to be looking for a larger breakout right in here as we're approaching the apex here, guys. Could happen at any time. More than likely, what I'm watching now is I think there's a good chance price may break down here in the short term, at least down to this little area right here, this little area of prior support, and that may again act as support. We'll have to wait and see how this ends up playing out, guys, but I wouldn't be surprised to see price break back down and touch 3,900 or this ascending support line, the bottom of that wedge again. If I come over here and look at the MACD, obviously looking at price, we can see price created a slightly lower low there, or excuse me, lower high, slightly lower high on this, at least so far, when it came back up here. And if we look at the MACD, excuse me, obviously this being in a tiny, from the start of this move here, being a tiny little downtrend there, looking at the MACD, between point to point, created a higher high, a little bit of hidden bearish divergence, a very little bit, guys, rolled down the 4-hour here. So that again would suggest a possible coming back down for retesting 3,900. Am I going to buy again if it does? I'm not. I'm going to wait and see which direction price breaks out of this wick here. We're also double topping here on the 4-hour RSI. So that's a very interesting. And one other point, guys, the RSI also can be used as support and resistance. If you remember last time, we were watching about 53 on the daily RSI here. It was 53 was acting as a very, in fact, I'll blow it up here so you guys can see a little bit better. 53 was acting as a very relevant resistance for quite some time. Of course, wicking below it very briefly every now and then, or above it briefly every now and then. But for the most part, 53 was acting as a very relevant resistance. We finally broke above it, and what was resistance started acting as support. I told you guys last time on my last update, price was sitting up here. When it came back down, we'd be looking for a bounce off of that 53 area again, expecting it to act as support. I told you a decisive break below would be a rather bearish sign. That did not happen. We had a nice little bounce off that, guys. So I just point that out. Especially for new traders, to emphasize the importance and the relevancy of support and resistance, not just on price, but also when looking at the RSI. All right, so we are approaching here. This is back on the daily chart, guys. We are obviously approaching this apex here. A break up above 4120 would be an extremely bullish sign if we can get a decisive, not a wick, but a decisive break above 4120. Again, by decisively, I made a daily candle both opening and closing above 4120. If that does happen, I'm going to start to get extremely bullish. Until then, those guys, we may see a temporary break up here out of this wedge, and I'd be very careful of a possible bear trap. A possible bull trap. I'd be very careful of a possible bull trap. Something like this happening, guys, coming back down, testing 3,900. We get a nice break up here. Everyone expects it. Everyone expects this to be the breakout, guys. And then once again, we hit the top of this resistance, maybe even wick above it, and then just come crashing right back down to at least 3,800, somewhere thereabouts. Doesn't mean that has to happen, guys. I'm just saying I'm very skeptical until we can get decisively above that 4120. And for those that may have missed it, on my prior updates, guys, if you remember, that 4120 obviously is not just resistance because, you know, the obvious resistance there is price. But if we look at our fib levels, and we go from this breakdown here, the first point where price created any structure was right in here. So if I use that as my pivot high and I go pivot high, pivot low, we can see why that's such a strong resistance. That's right there in that golden pocket between the 618 and the 65 fib level, also known as the golden pocket, guys. So this is why this is such a very relevant resistance and why it's so important to decisively break above that. If we can do that, remember, guys, you're trading against a lot of bots. In other words, a lot of algorithms, and so that, you know, that's why price has been so consolidated between price points here, guys, because there's a lot of bots trading here and a lot of algos, and those bots just trade on algorithms, guys. And as soon as you break above that golden pocket, decisively above that golden pocket, a lot of algos are going to shift and they're going to stop looking for targets down here and not stop looking for a bounce here and a target down here to short, and they're going to start looking for longer targets up here to pick price points up here. So that's a very, very relevant zone that we need to get above for multiple reasons. All right, zooming back in on the daily, I'm very, very skeptical here, guys, of any break up. It doesn't mean a break up wouldn't signify the bottom. Doesn't mean the bottom might be in. It doesn't mean that that's not starting the bull run. But I'm extremely skeptical of it as of right now, guys, because I do think that there's a good chance that this is setting up for a bull trap. We've got a lot of volume coming in. In fact, let me refresh this. Yeah, volume sitting at about 10.8 billion on the day. That is a nice amount of volume. I know a lot of that is wash trading. I know a lot of people have asked me about that on YouTube and on Twitter and instant messages and private messages, etc. Yes, a lot of this volume is wash trading. A lot of this volume is fake volume, but that fake volume has been in there for the last year or so, and so this increase in volume is still an actual increase in volume. How much of how much of the total volume is fake? A lot of it, a whole lot of it. But it doesn't mean that we're not seeing an increase in real volume overall as well. So I just wanted to be clear because I know a lot of people are asking me about that. No, all of this increase in volume is not all fake volume, even though the sum of all the volume is in fact, a lot of that is fake volume. But that's been, like I said, that's been going on for a long time. All right, getting back to this, guys, if we do break up here and if we do create a new high, so if we do end up doing something like this, price comes back down, hits this bottom, and ends up breaking up here, guys, I'm going to get a little skeptical. Again, it does look like this may be setting up for a possible bull trap. If I come over here and I look at longs versus shorts, shorts, you can see, are falling off the board here, guys. So you can see retail is starting to believe that price is going to go up. If I come over here and I look at longs slowly stacking, slow little stack here, not nearly to the severity of shorts, but shorts dropping. Longs are not stacking at the same rate shorts are dropping, guys, but they are still slowly rising here. So if this trend does continue and price does continue up, and I would assume that shorts would continue to drop off, longs would continue to stack. And again, don't just make that assumption, guys. Make sure you check this for yourself, because I could be completely wrong. If price breaks up, I could be completely wrong. If price breaks up, we could see short stacking and longs falling, in which case more than likely it'll continue. But if price does end up breaking up here, guys, something like this, and longs are stacking and shorts are falling off the board, watch out for that bull trap, guys. And we can see, I'm pointing this out because you can see the makings of it here on the MACD. We can see the MACD. If I kind of zoom in here, you can see the signal line and the MACD line are start on a path to converge as of right now. We can see that the histogram is on track to possibly come over here and cross over into bullish territory. If that does happen with price going up here, how does that set up? Assuming this happens on price and we create a higher high right here, what would that do as price comes up here and as we peak into that bullish territory? Oh, sorry about that, guys. That's EOS. Didn't mean to hit that. What would that do? Well, it would look something like this, right? As soon as price peaks its little head up here into bullish territory, we'd have a higher high on price. We would have a lower high on the histogram, setting up for what? For bearish divergence, guys, and again would suggest a breakdown. A breakdown in price. So be very careful of the bull trap, guys, especially until we get a decisive break above that 4120. Again, by decisive, I mean a daily candle both opening and closing above 4120. Until that happens, guys, by all means, scalp trade, get in, get out, but do just that, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but what I would do, what I am doing, I'm seeing these little trades, picking them up and dropping them off very quickly, so to speak. All right, zooming out or zooming in on the daily here, guys, we can see that that 21-day EMA did hold. I told you last time if we did decisively break below the 21-day EMA, again by decisively I mean a daily candle both opening and closing below the 21-day EMA, that would be a very big win for the bears. That did not happen. We had a daily candle closed below the 21-day EMA. The next day closed right at just above the 21-day EMA. So not a decisive break. It was close. It was an epic battle, as I said in my last update, an epic battle between bulls and bears. But the bulls won that battle. I don't know if they're going to win the war. Well, I do believe they're going to win the war, guys. But we'll see what the next few battles have in store. But the 21-day EMA for now did hold, guys. That was a bullish sign. If we come over here and we zoom out on the weekly. Looking at the weekly chart, guys, we can see the Bollinger Bands here are starting to severely bottleneck. They're getting, I mean, they're just on a collision course with each other, guys. And again, that would suggest the closer they get, the larger the move that would suggest is to come. Doesn't mean that has to happen, guys. Just means in the past, anytime you see a bottlenecking, especially on the weekly chart, guys, as I said, the closer they get, the more indicative sorry guys, I can't speak here. The closer, the more these Bollinger Bands bottleneck here, that would suggest probability-wise the larger the move is to follow. Excuse me one second. All right, sorry guys, I had to clear my throat there. I'm doing 5 things at once here. A break above on the daily chart, or excuse me, on the weekly chart, guys. A break above this 21-day. 21 period moving average on the weekly chart, guys. A break above that, or excuse me, the 21 period EMA, not moving average, but EMA, exponential moving average on the weekly chart would be an extremely bullish sign if that can happen. We're nowhere near there yet, guys, but if that does happen, guys, like I said, that would be, especially if we can close above that, would be an extremely bullish sign. Zooming out on the weekly, as I showed you guys last time, we're approaching 3 very relevant resistance areas. This major resistance on this descending resistance line on this wedge here with a possible bear flag. Also this descending resistance that's been in place since May of 2018, this massive descending resistance line here, as well as our known price point at 41.20 on Coinbase and on a few other exchanges there. So 3 very relevant resistance areas, guys, that we do have to clear above here, and we'll see if we can do that. Again, a decisive break above that, guys, would be an extremely bullish sign, but we also be looking at that possible rejection, guys, and that possible target somewhere around 3,000 and 2,500 if we do break down hard here. And we do have a lot of volume behind this, guys, so that, again, between that weekly chart, those Bollinger Bands consolidating there, as well as price being squeezed here tighter and tighter within this wedge, all these things are suggesting a larger move to come here in the next 2 weeks. So how am I playing Bitcoin? For now, guys, I'm out. I told you I sold at 4,000. I'll buy in again down here. If we do come back down here and retest 3,900, I'll buy at 3,900. I'll have a very tight stop this time. Very likely will not ladder down here between 3,900 and 3,850, knowing that if we do break down this time with this descending support line that's been in place here for so long, it very likely, if we do break 3,900, it's going to break that support line and then break down here to 3,800, at least 3,800 if that does break. So I will buy, though. I will very likely scalp 3,900 again, targeting 4,000, and I'll do that all day long here with a very tight stop loss until we do decisively break out of this wedge here, which it looks like is going to come here in the next, I don't know, maybe 3-4 days or so, if not sooner. All right, I'm going to wrap Bitcoin there. Looking at EOS, and I apologize, guys. I know a lot of you have asked me to look at EOS for a while now, and I just haven't got around to it. I've been trading it, but again, I just haven't got, the videos are so long as it is. But I'm going to go ahead and cover it now because we have finally had this breakout. This breakout was rather easy to spot, and of course, it's easy for me to say now. Hindsight's always 20/20, but it was as we were looking at the price consolidating here, getting squeezed tighter and tighter within this wedge here, guys. And of course, we just had a textbook breakout of that wedge. Doesn't always happen that beautifully, guys, but that it really is a textbook breakout. And of course, we broke up here, guys. And initially, if I zoom in here, you can see that initially, guys, our computer's acting up. There we go. Initially, price broke up here, guys. Found a little bit of resistance right there at that $4.27. Finally pushed above 427, broke back down, and what was resistance started acting as support. We can see that 427 acted as support here before breaking down and then acting as resistance. It was support back here as well. So not an irrelevant zone and not extremely relevant, also not irrelevant, guys. I just find it interesting. We'll see if that can hold for now. But really, I'm watching that 450. If we can break up above 450 and stay above it, I think that'd be an extremely bullish sign, guys. And we are setting up for what looks like a possible, let me zoom out to the daily, you'll see a little better, a possible double top here where price comes up, hits double top here right around, I think it was $4.51, yeah, 453. So double topping at about 453, possibly breaking right back down. We also are setting up, I wouldn't personally, again, not financial advice, I would wait for a pullback on EOS. It doesn't mean that it is going to definitely pull back. If you wanted a dollar cost average in, not a bad idea at all, but it does look a little extended right now. So I wait for a small little pullback if you are looking to enter for a quick scalp somewhere maybe around 385, 380, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Again, doesn't mean that is going to happen, guys, but it just means it looks like we're setting up for a possible double top scenario, or where we even wick above it, create a new temporary high here, and then end up breaking back down. If we look at price, let's say price does follow that path, and kind of something similar to Bitcoin. So let's say price does end up continuing up here, and we do create that new local high here, and we're looking at something like this. If we come over here and we look at the MACD, MACD is just now crossing into bullish territory. And so if I go from that prior pivot high to that new pivot high, come down to the MACD, what would that show? Oh, sorry guys, I'm having trouble with my computer here. So anyway, going from that prior high to that, in this scenario, to that prior, to the lower high, which would obviously be on the MACD. Obviously, that would be bearish divergence, guys. Again, similar to Bitcoin. So it does look like we're setting up, again, for a possible bull trap where price breaks back up, traps people high, and then ends up crashing right back down. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this plays out, but it certainly looks like we're setting up for that. We're seeing on the daily RSI just reaching overbought territory. So again, looking for a possible pullback here in the short term to possibly 380, 385, somewhere thereabouts. And we can see there's numerous small areas of resistance to get through all the way up here, guys, on the looking at the daily here, guys. But if we zoom out here to the weekly, in my opinion, the area that Bitcoin, or excuse me, not Bitcoin, that EOS has got to decisively break above is approximately the $5 range. Why do I say that? I say that because, again, looking at the weekly chart, guys, and this is a beautiful looking weekly chart so far, guys. Let's hope that that's bottom and we just continue up from here. Yeah, this area right here, we can see where price came down and created basically this very strong on the weekly chart with the body of the candle right at almost exactly at $5, just slightly below, but really that's $5 marks are right here is what I'm looking at here, guys. This was a very, very, very relevant zone here, guys, and I do think that this is going to be the area to get above. If we can get above that $5, not just wick above it here, because I mean we've wicked above, you know, they wicked below support here. It didn't matter much at all. We've wicked above resistance, doesn't matter much at all. I need to see the body of the candle both open and close, at least on the daily, up above $5. If that does happen, guys, I'm going to start to get extremely bullish, and certainly if we can break above all this noise back here, all this order structure that was created back in September of 2018, if we can clear that, guys, that you know, there's a lot of blue sky above that. But really, it starts with that $5. If it's a psychological number, and obviously, guys, it was a very hard support back in August, should act as a very strong resistance now on the way back up. We'll have to wait and see kind of how this ends up playing out. But if we do break above that $5 range, guys, decisively, I'm going to start to get a lot more bullish on EOS. Until then, guys, again, I'm very careful of a possible bull trap. That means we could see a little more upside here, guys, and then a very strong break back down. We do have the volume behind it, guys, to break in either direction very, very quickly. And so I'm extremely, extremely skeptical given that, excuse me one second. Sorry, guys, had to clear my throat there. But yeah, I'm extremely skeptical, especially given the rate at which shorts are falling off here, with the volume backing us all up, guys. Long slowly starting to stack. If that trend does continue, guys, I just see a very big bull trap here in the near future. Doesn't mean you can't profit off that. It just means until we have a nice confirmed uptrend, guys, just take profits along the way. To absolutely enter your positions, but just get in, get out, and do not get greedy. And at some point, if price does end up taking off and you didn't just catch the bottom and you sold a little bit and you could have made a lot more money. Hindsight is always 20/20, guys. Protect your capital. If you haven't lost, if you didn't capitalize on price taking off here, you didn't buy down here, that doesn't mean you lost money. Yeah, there's always going to be more opportunity ahead. But in the off chance that you bought down here and then price just collapsed and you end up losing all that money, guys, then you've got no money to play with in the future. There's going to be a lot more opportunities going forward. So all that to say, guys, the long and the short of it is, absolutely, as price pulls back here, certainly get your scalp trades in, but just get in my opinion, not financial advice, but personally, I'm getting in and I'm getting out until we have a confirmed uptrend, until we've really broken through most of the resistance that I've just discussed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comments section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Until next time, guys, please trade safe, take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.